Hello and Merry Christmas or Happy Holiday or whatever you celebrate. Today, as I put the title of this video, is Jesus' birthday, which I think is very apt. And yeah, I think that millions of people today are celebrating the birth of Jesus. You know, the whole story. Church, going to church. The churches are full. Today I walked to pilgrimage site here. It's about I think about two and a half hours walking from where I'm staying tonight. I'm staying in the Czech Republic. I'm in the Czech Republic still, and I'm heading south. And this place is a place of pilgrimage. And I walked in. Not thinking about the structure of the church. It was actually a mass going on, and it was beautiful because they had an orchestra and they had the choir and they had people singing and everyone was singing. And I was like, wow, this is really the church is baroque, it's very beautiful. And then and it's something that I've seen all through my walk for peace around Europe, going through all these different pilgrim places, all these different churches. I've been to thousands of churches. I've been to mass. I'm not Catholic or Christian myself, but I've been to the places, for mass, and I'm really curious. I want to be there and listen to what people have to say. And I've been to mass in about, every language that I've been, every country that I've been to in the language. So I just listen, stand there and listen. And there is something beautiful about people coming together, and getting but it's something that really strikes me is at the end of each mass, people sort of shake their hand, like peace be with you or something like this, they say. And that always struck a chord with me. It was like, peace be with you. Okay, you shake your hands, and then what do you do with this? So now I just wanted to share some thoughts about this idea of peace, love and unity that people like to celebrate today. And why not celebrating the rest of the year? I mean, what does it have to be just today that people are nice to one another and kind to one another and really value the message of Jesus, which is a message of love and unity and understanding. And that for me is beautiful. I mean, I'm not Catholic or Christian myself, but I love the core message of Christianity, of Buddhism and Islam. The core messages are all based on the same thing, which is the unity of humanity and love, unconditional love, and the peace that comes from that. And then I started to see, it's like, this story of Jesus is about over 2,000 years old, and we are still, 2,000 more years later, in conflict with one another, in conflict with ourselves, in conflict with our neighbors, and then you started to realize that the whole message of Jesus really gets lost in translation, especially when you go to big churches and big places, and there is places of pilgrimage and places where there is saints and things, and people go there, and it's always like this perpetuation of I need something outside of myself to help me, to motivate me to be a better person or whatever, or anything like that. And you started to look at the beautiful cathedrals and churches, and it's like, wow, but it's like, isn't this exactly what the message of Jesus was not really for? This idolatry of imageries and things like this. And then I started to look at the real message. Is like, well, what does it really mean to be a message of love one another, love your neighbor? And it doesn't have conditions. It doesn't really feel like this. Love if you are agreeing with me, if you agree with what I say, if we agree with my choice of lifestyle. If you don't agree, then I don't love you. That's not real love, really. That's more like a interpretation of your own agenda or anything like that. So that's why it becomes a real true act of love becomes an act of pretty much rebellion against the sort of normals that society has been imposing on us about, you have to be this way, you have to be that way, you have to be that way. And when you really look at the message, it's like, well, not just the message of love and unity and peace. It sounds all very nice, and you can tick the boxes, and it feels very out there. It's like, yes, it's nice to embrace that, and nice to go about it, but in my own life I don't really embrace it. So why don't people embrace that message? Because it takes a lot of inner work, and look at yourself in your own life and really analyze that. And it's not just enough to go to church and sing and pray and then you go back home, and then what happens? You still hating your neighbors, or you still hating your mother or your friends or your aunties, or you're fighting, and the whole point of it is that you really take on the execution of that into your own life. And I've seen a lot of people that they textbooks Christians or Catholics, they do all the things they're supposed to be doing, but then there is resentment, there is gossiping, there is hatred around. And I'm thinking, well, that's not really the message itself. Just because you go to a church and you go to a big building and stuff doesn't mean anything really if then in your daily life you don't take that into actions. And for me, on my walk for peace around Europe, I always like to ask people, what do you do with that? When you meet religious people, some people actually are really embracing it, and you can see that the actions are based on connection and understanding and love and unity and friendship. And it's in every area of their life. It's not just just with Catholics or just with Christians. So it goes, it's something that comes from within, and it just touches every area of your life. And I also like to ask people, it's like, okay, you are the peace of God, or whatever you want to call it, and then the love, and then Jesus, but it's like, how are you taking that on board and executing it in your daily life every day, when things are not easy, when things are getting hard, when you are not in church, when everyone is supporting you, when everyone agrees with what you say? How are you taking that message on when someone disagrees with you? When someone has a different opinion to the one you have, are you bringing love to that? Can you bring love and acceptance to that? Even though you might not agree with what they're saying, and there's different positions, but can you pass beyond that and go and see the humanity underneath that? And and it's people say the peace and the love and unity, and then they go and start typing and hating on Twitter, and social media and Facebook and whatnot. So it's something that I find really fascinating, how the reality of peace, love, and unity is an action. It's not just a word and something that you give on a postcard at Christmas time. Oh, love it, this I love, but it's something that you do regularly, on a regular basis, when things get harder, when life throws at you people and circumstances are not agreeing with your either your lifestyle or what's going on around you. And that's the crucial moment when you think, okay, is the peace and the love and the unity that I was talking about in Christmas time really executing in here now? And then you see that there is something that I also like to say to people, it's like, how are you carrying that forward? How are you carrying that message of peace, love, unity? All sounds very nice, but how are you making that into a reality rather than just a concept? Because it's crucial that nowadays we have to really get into the thick of it and actually execute it. We have to be active in the pursuit, not even the pursuit, but I would say more in the expression of peace and unity, because I believe there's something that we all have inside. It might be covered with a lot of stuff from your conditioning, your past, or but I believe that everyone has the potential to live a life of harmony and peace and unity with everyone. So the whole point is to look at that and say, okay, what is going on here? That in one side we have this beautiful ideal of peace, love, unity, Christmas time, everyone today is happy. Well, I'm sure that a lot of families are fighting, which is it's another thing as well, when people get together and they all come with this old issues and things that they haven't dealt with, so it's all like a fight. And how are we taking that on board? How are we using that understanding? I mean, it's something that has been thoroughly explored for thousands of years. Millions of people around the world, if not billions, celebrate the birth of Jesus. If you look at the story of Jesus itself, I mean, even if it was true, if it was real that he existed or not, the message itself, and many times the message itself gets lost in translation, you know, but about where he was born and what he was wearing and what kind of cross and what, it's like, if you forget all that and look at the actual message, which I think, I mean, for someone like him in the story that was giving a message, you have to take the message, you know, and look at it and then say, okay, does this resonate with me, the real message? And if it does resonate with people, because it's a universal message of love, unity, understanding. It's not conditional. It's not about I love you if you do this for me, or if you are like this and like that. It's like, not really. Also, another thing that I noticed is that when the things about Jesus said, put the other cheek, and people confuse that with being passive or being submissive to an aggressor or to someone, you know, that's coming to be aggressive towards you, or an enemy, or whatever they want to call it. And when you look at it, actually, it's about finding your own inner strength in such a way that no matter what happens outside of you, there is no resistance to that. So if someone comes with an aggression, you come from a place of peace, so that means that there is no resistance there. So by not resisting and not reacting to this aggression, you don't have anything to offer the person to fight against, so they don't have anything to push against. If there's nothing here, there's no anger or no reaction or no frustration, then the person has nothing to push against. And that, I think that's what it means about putting the other cheek. You know, it's about non-resistance and not reacting to that. And I think that's really powerful. You know, it's really powerful when you realize that someone might give you a judgment, someone might give you a dirty look, or someone disagrees with you, and you don't take it personal, because it's not personal. The person that said something, they say something, you don't really know what's going on in their world, why they did that, what they said that. And from your perspective, it's like, well, you always have a choice on how to react to things and how to you know, it's not even take it on, it's more like you see what's coming to you, but you are in such a place of peace yourself that it doesn't really matter, you know, what the person is saying, either if it's something like aggressive or something, you know, you have a sort of balanced inner world, you know, that doesn't react or doesn't push this person away. It's just, so this person comes in and you know, you're just present there. There's no reaction, no aggression. And I think that's very powerful when it comes to inner peace, and when it comes to looking at the world, that you have always a choice on how to react to things, or if not react at all, and how to take on whatever's outside of you. You know, you can really have that. And I think that's a very powerful message that we sort of dismiss as being passive, because, you know, put the other cheek, and it's about non-reaction and non-reactivity. And then, so yeah, that's the few things that I wanted to touch on, that, you know, how do we look into our own life and take these messages of peace and love and unity, and how that really manifests itself in every area of our life. Because one of the things that you must be aware of is that when you are angry, or when you're hating someone or something, it doesn't matter if it feels like a justified hatred. If you're hating something, you bring in hate into the world. So let me, you know, it's like there is one person here and there's hating, you are hating. So it doesn't matter if yours is justified, or you feel that yours is right and there is wrong. The whole point is that there is hatred. So you have to be conscious about what are you bringing into existence, what are you bringing into the world. With hatred, you just add in more hatred to what was already there. So even if you hate Donald Trump, or if you hate Boris Johnson, or if you hate this, or if you hate that, it doesn't matter one or the other. Or if you hate conservatives or Republicans or the left or right, the point is that your emanation in the world is hatred. So it doesn't matter if it's one way or the other. Is the vibration or the energy that you're giving that is adding to what's already there. So what about if there is no hatred there? Instead of there is understanding and listening, and then looking at different options and not take anything personal, is powerful. I know it's not easy. It might not be very easy for people to do that because we're so used to reacting. And you did this and you did that. What do you think you are? And we have that everywhere. I mean, if you look online, if you look on the social media, the news, the sort of very popular TVs and radio shows and podcasts and things, they're normally about gossip. They're normally about putting someone down or judging someone, like the X Factor and all these things, like judging someone or laughing at someone. So then you started to realize that this is actually being fed from many different angles. This idea that you react to something. There's always something to push against and something to look at. And I think an act of finding your peace and finding your ground and finding your center, it could be one of the most powerful things that you do. It must be challenging, and it might break down concepts and ideas that you have about yourself in your life, but it's fundamental that we started to really in and look inwards and say, okay, this is all conceptual, all these ideas of peace and love and unity, but let me see what's going on here. Why am I upset about this? What's making me react? What's the trigger? What's triggering me? And when you start looking at that, then you started to see the patterns that you repeat. And because someone might normally, when someone has a reaction to something, is kind of emotionally charged, so it can be very easy to distinguish that. It's like, oh, someone just said something, but I got really agitated, I got really nervous and angry, and well, what is it? Because they just said something, but it's all happening here, so let me look into that. But we don't. We tend to point fingers. It's like, you made me feel this way, and you made me feel that way, and you did this to me, and you did that to me. So instead of taking responsibility for our inner experience, we always push it outside, and that is always going to perpetuate that conflict between people. Always, it's going to always, it's cyclical. It always comes and goes, and then you need to look for revenge. Your ego is damaged or hurt, and you need to sort of rebuild it again by looking for something to hurt them or to push their buttons. Or this is all adding to the whole negativity and aggression and anger and hostility and violence in the world. When we might not be aware of that, but this is all adding up. So the point is to really look look inside. Look here. What's here? So the messages, Christmas message about peace, love, and unity. Unfortunately, a lot of people just leave it there, today, and then tomorrow is Boxing Day in the UK, and then maybe 26, 27, 28, people go back to normal, and then these messages are all like, yeah, just once a year and all that. And even the message of the Christmas message is lost in so many people in so many ways, like Christmas is about presents or about getting drunk with the family, and which is fine, it's just everyone can celebrate whatever they like in the way they like. But when it comes to the reality of the celebration, of what's being said as Jesus' birthday, is it really gets lost. The whole message of and sometimes I even think myself, it's like, wow, just look at how in history, in the past, look how many people have been killed and have suffered because of some people using the excuse of Jesus as their message, like their agenda. You have the Inquisition, you have the Crusades, you have the, there's so much that has, in the name of Jesus, in the name of Christianity, in the name of Catholicism. So you can look at the history of, it's like, wow, people really, they can take anything from anywhere and make it whatever they want to mean. But the message itself is completely lost. Because love, unity, and peace, there is no killing, there is no hurting, there is not discriminating, there is no pushing away, there is no selective hierarchies. You are better than others, or someone is better than you, or this is better than is. No, that doesn't work. That's not really what that is about. It must be something else, but don't call it love, peace, and unity. Because it's not conditional. It's not about unity. Unity is unity. It's like togetherness, and unity. But if you are black, or if you are Jewish, or if you are this, or if you are that, you're not part. It's like, that's not unity. That's not love. That's not peace. That's separation. That's pushing away. That's using even discrimination and violence towards a group of people just because of what they wear, or what they look like, or how big they are, or who they go to bed with. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. So I think there is also an opportunity there for all of us to look into, okay, when we see these things happening, to say, hey, let's have a conversation, let's talk. This is not really, you are using this, but it's not really meant to be that way, and so we can learn from each other, and and live in harmony, which is the whole point. And then so the message of Jesus. I didn't grow up in a Catholic or Christian family, and my family was atheist, but I had some profound spiritual experiences myself through inquiring in the mind and being very upset, and different times in my life, and that really opened up a whole understanding of and I walked into a church and I was like, wow, I really get the message. It's about human transformation, going beyond the mind into the realm of the spirit, or the kingdom of God, or whatever. There's so many things that people have translated and used in different ways. All these words are quite loaded already. And so it's going beyond that and finding your truth, and that takes some exploration and courage to look inside and say, okay, this is not really who I am. Who am I? And you look deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you get to a point where you can actually find which is not even yours, it's just there, your peace. And then once you touch that, see how that has an effect in your life, so from the inner to the outside, it's like when you really get in touch with that beautiful peace, it's love and peace. It just becomes like one thing. It's just there, silent. And from then, what can you do? How can you act on that? What can you bring into the world? And as I said earlier, we have to be aware of that which we bring into existence by being violent, aggressive, and negative, and hateful. It doesn't, even if you really feel justified that you are right about your hatred, you still, it is hatred. It's just hatred in the world. So it might be the other side of the same coin. You might feel that this is righteousness and this is your side, but actually it's hatred in itself. So that's what the frequency energy is just being expanded into the world and being brought about. When what about if there was much more love? There was much more peace, and if more people were doing that, it's just much more energetically, possible to expand and to create a harmonious life. Obviously, the people that are angry and hateful are quite loud, and they make their point across. So there's a lot of energy that goes with that violence and that aggression to move forward. But just because someone is screaming and shouting doesn't mean that they are, touching a truth there. It's just they might feel that this is the only way for them to express themselves that way, you know, like with violence and loudness. But that is not necessarily. And then when you see that, it's like, how do you react to that? You know, that's the whole point. How do you see that and say, okay, wow, the initial reaction normally is to either fight it or argue against it. And when you start looking and slowing down, it's like, wow, you might even actually create an opportunity for that person to see themselves differently, or to actually transform the situation or the person by you being peacefully in that environment and present and aware and open to this. So that's why I think also, that's what I said earlier about the putting the other cheek. I think that's what it means, not the, yes, do with me whatever you like and slap me across the face. I don't think it's that. It's more about finding your own truth and your power, that no matter what happens outside of you or someone, you are still at peace. And that has transformational powers. That has very, very powerful possibilities to change a whole situation. And I even experienced that myself many times on my walk. Sometimes someone might come to me and, peace, Pilgrim, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I just, just let it be, and it's not like resisting, like, nah, I don't want to listen to you and pretend, No, there's nothing inside here to react to that. So I just let it all happen, and then listen to the person, listen to the concern, see what are they saying, what are they coming from, and then having a little conversation if possible, and a smile, and just being open and understand that that person might be going through something that led them to be so reactive and angry. It normally tends to be like that. There's something that we carry and we add layer upon layer, and then everything around us is just a reaction to everything. You hate the world, you hate people, you hate your job, you hate your house, you hate your husband, you hate your... But it's, again, we are looking out all the time. But when you start looking inwards, then all of that might transform. Your whole entire life might transform. And that's what I think is important, to look into your own inner peace. And that will have an effect in every area of your life. And if everybody did that, of course there will be peace on earth. There is peace on earth already. There is a lot of peace, but just there is some pockets of violence and aggression that seems to be very loud, and we tend to focus on that. So that gives a perspective that the world is a terrible place. The world is a terrible place, it's a bad place. And there's a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of good stuff, even more good stuff than bad. But we put the attention on that, so it gives that the feeling that this is all there is. If you only look at the news and stuff, it's all bad. But if you just walk out of your house, you might be that, well, there's nothing happening. Or even in your kitchen or your room, nothing might be happening there. So this is something to be aware of. It's like, okay, there's much more peace than conflict. But I mean, it depends where and how you focus on it. That actually gives you a different perspective. And then so this is the from the inner to the outer, inner into the outer peace. And this is what I do on my walk. Walking for peace beyond borders, the borders that we build around ourselves, between ourselves and friends and neighbors, and that then expands borders to nations. So from the inside to the outside, it's a manifestation of what's going on. If enough people are closed up and are in a negative state, in a negative space, in a negative experience, it's all about reaction and reacting and violence and aggression. And if enough people do that, then that translates into the type of leaders that they will choose. They would something that identifies with them, or is in their similar understanding of reality of the world. If they're scared and the people they're scared and they use fear a lot, then they will go along with that. And it's I think it's about time that the ones that want peace and want harmony, want love, that just speak up a little more, come up a little more, come out of your shell and engage in conversations, engage with people, get to social media is great. I mean, I'm great that I can do this now live, but my thing is always face to face, because I like to sense the person, to see the emotions, the feelings. The communication is much more real when you are one to one, face to face, or with a group of people. You can really sense what's going on. But it's important that we share. So then I'll finish with, I just wanted to do an exercise that I do all the time, which is a gratitude exercise. But the things that I've been seeing a lot is about gratitude because people want to get something. It's like they want to be grateful because they want to get something, or this idea of the law of attraction. You know, I want to get a house, I want to get a car, I want to get a girlfriend, I want to get a boyfriend, and I want to be grateful because I don't know, that doesn't seem authentic to me. For me, for example, I'm just grateful to be alive. That's number one. I mean, are you grateful to be alive? Have you really been present to being grateful to be alive, to life? You know, there's so much fear around us, you know, like you're scared and you move about and nature, but when you started to realize, and it's not even about comparison with other people that have less than you, it's about whatever you have or whatever you don't have, it doesn't matter. It's just that the experience of being alive and being in the moment and being present and feeling and having this body that actually is doing all this stuff to keep you alive and to keep you safe, you know, and it's just, there's so much a beauty in it. There's so much, it's like trillions of cells, and you know, and the skin is keeping you, you know, from all this bacteria and things. It's like, wow, this is I'm not a one person, I'm a whole community already. How can you feel alone when you realize that you are a walking community? And so that sense of being grateful just to being alive is and I mean, I don't know, everybody's different, but being able to walk, you know, being able to breathe. The things that we have the most is air, and it's there and it's available all the time. If we don't have air to breathe, we don't last more than a couple of minutes, I guess. You know, try to hold your breath and see how long you last. And that is the most important thing we need, and it's available everywhere. I mean, in some places the air is getting a bit polluted again. That's another thing. The environment, wow. So it's this gratitude exercise that I do. I don't focus it on anyone or anything in particular. I just it's in a feeling, because sometimes people do like gratitude list. I'm grateful for my mother, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, and that, yeah, it can be, but it can be quite conceptual and intellectual. I think you can get it lost in your mind. For me, it's all about bringing it to your heart and feeling the gratitude. And I mean, most of the time what I do is when for example, I'm in this room and I'm so grateful that I was able to pay for this room because someone gave a donation, so I could be somewhere on Christmas Day. And tomorrow morning when I leave, when everything is ready to go, I will stand in the middle of the room and I will do the gratitude exercise to say thank you and to feel, you know, like, because I'm actually truthfully thankful for this, you know, for this opportunity and for this being safe and warm. Also, when I put my tent in nature, when I take my tent out in the morning, I stand there in the spot where I put my tent, and I am safe, I'm alive, nothing happened. I'm you know, I might be cold, I might be wet, you know, but I stand there on the ground that I put my tent, and I say thank you, and this time for nature, you know, saying thank you and feeling it. And then you know, something that I learned from Quakers is also when before, some of them, not everyone, and I love that, before eating, you know, some people do the grace, you know, like some Catholics or Christians do, they hold hands and they say thank you, Lord, for that. But what I've seen from Quakers, which I think is very good, I mean, in my case I love it, is just to sit in silence, just for a couple of, I mean, not even a minute, whatever you feel comfortable with. Just, you have your food there and just sitting in silence in front of it and bringing that feeling of gratitude and thankfulness, but feel it, not just think about it, actually feel like, yes, thank you, this food arrived here, and I'm able to eat, you know, I'm able to feed this community, as I said earlier. So just think about that, and then you just you know, in silence, you just, with a plate of food, if you want, if you can, you know. And I think for me, it does makes me, it's like you are in sort of communion with the moment and the food, and you appreciate it much more. But what I do is I put my hand on my heart here, and I just close my eyes in silence, and it's almost like you say to yourself thank you, but you bring it down, so you feel it. You feel the gratitude, and it normally comes accompanied with a tingling sensation or a sensation of expansion. And also it can be, if you surrender to it, it can actually be a joyous moment, like joy come in. And even you can, sometimes you're so thankful and joyful that you cry, and that's beautiful too, of course. There is many moments when I've been in nature that there's something that I've seen and it's amazing. The sunlight is then the right and it hits a tree, and then it's almost like a postcard scene, and I'm like, I'm taken by the beauty of nature, and in that moment I feel the thank you, and sometimes I've cried from seeing such a beauty and being able to experience this, being able to have these eyes that are actually looking at that. And I'm gonna get some water. So the gratitude exercise that I do is just that. There's no lists, there is no to-dos, it's just, so maybe you can bring it into your own life in moments that you feel that, oh yeah, this is great, oh thank you, and then bring that about. And then what it does is actually is giving you a different, again, as I said to you, what we put into the world. If we put hatred, we push this sort of negativity, and it has a vibration. It has a physical quality to it. Sorry, you can feel it when you walk into a room and someone is, upset or depressed or angry, and they don't even have to say a word. You can feel that. So that we have that sort of. Sometimes we have lost the connection with our humanity in that way, but you can feel it. So it's all about bringing those feelings into existence, the feelings of gratitude, instead of the feelings of hatred and discrimination and judgment and all this stuff. Why not you start bringing the feelings into the world? Because this is your creation. I have a little graph that I made before I start walking about the three realms, the realm of the mind, the physical realm, and then the realm of the spirit or no thought. I mean, there's a different ways to say about it. But how we, from the thinking, we bring it into the feeling, and that you can, sometimes it's unconscious, so you get a panic attack, or you get upset, or you get depressed, or you get angry because it's an unconscious connection, or sometimes you can bring it conscious. So then when you become conscious about it, then you can bring it into existence like this: gratitude, being thankful, bringing love into the world. One example, if you have a pet or if you have a child, and that when you look at the pet, when you look at the child, that love that comes from within you, you look at them and it's like, oh, you accept them for everything, for the poop, the pee, the naughty, whatever it is, you just love them. So the capacity for loving is inside you. So why not bringing that into existence in other areas of your life? Why not bringing that possibility and that skill, because it's almost like a skill, but we do it automatically. So if you're able to love your child or your pet in such a way, why not using the same towards people that you disagree with, people that you not necessarily is not necessarily in your environment or in your surroundings, or your around you, or why not trying to bring that? It doesn't mean that if they do something which is harmful, that there is no consequences to their actions, but if, from your perspective, bringing understanding and love, unity, peace, the Christmas message. So the whole point is to bring the Christmas message of love, peace and unity, how to really bring it down to your experience, and then share it, and then every day of your life live as if it was Jesus' birthday, like today. So the exercise is that I just put my hand here, I close my eyes, I thank you. So for example, this time I would be grateful for this opportunity that I have a mobile phone, that I can connect live with people from different places around the world, or and then I just bring it back to, so this is the intellectual one. It's like, yeah, thank you for this, but then you bring it down to your experience, to say, to feel. And as simple as that. And then you feel it. It's like a tingling sensation in your head and in your spine. So that's the live that I wanted to do today, and I hope the sound worked. I haven't even checked. I've got a microphone here that I haven't really used, and I hope it worked. I can imagine if I've been talking like without sound. But anyway, thank you for watching, and be conscious about what you're bringing into the world, you know. Peace, love, unity, truth. That's our truth. We have enough of the other stuff out there, you know. There's enough negativity and violence and aggression, but now it's like you have to focus on, and then be responsible with your inner state. Thank you.